Hey everybody, welcome to my plan with me for the week of October 13th through the 19th, which is the week that I went to When We Were Young Fest in Las Vegas. So I did choose to use this emo kit from SPC. I just thought it was a perfect choice, especially because of the pink, and there's a lot of pink involved in like the festival imagery. So I think this was a freebie. This was a fashion add-on that I got, and this was also a fashion add-on. So it's Fam 1. And then, yeah, this is just the rest of the kit. So I'm using lots of foil colors for this week. I figured that, like, the goal is kind of to make it look tacky because I went to Vegas, and also because I feel like the kit colors are just so like out there, like they're very bright. So to start, I did get these Las Vegas overlays from Planet Hannah, and I foiled them in like sparkly lemongrass. So I just thought that would be like a fun pop since there are some accents in the kit. And then I got these music notes underlays. Again, I foiled them. My underlay situation is going to be like, I'll figure it out. But then I did pull in this bundle. I think it's the Punk bundle from SPC. And it's in like a, I don't know, like a light magenta hollow. I'm not sure what exactly it's called, but it's a really pretty color. So I'm not going to be using every bit of this bundle, but I am going to be pulling pieces in. And then the same thing with this bundle. This shop no longer exists, but I did already have this, so I foiled it in blue hollow a long time ago and then realized it didn't really match the kit I was using it with, so I think it works well with this. I will not be using that. I'll probably save that for the week I go to Warped Tour, because there are going to be some, well, there's going to be a lot of leftovers, and I will kind of piece stuff together for that. So the underlays are just like checkered, which is very Vans. And then I got the emo lyrics. You can kind of see through, but basically what I did was I wrote what the artists were on the back just to make it easier for myself. And then like the artists that I saw, I put X's by so I can remember to use those. This one is in like a pink magenta. This is pink hollow, and then this one is purple hollow. Not really sure why I got them all in different colors, but I'm not even sure if I was foiling my own stuff back then, so who knows. Then I've got some random bits. So this boarding pass sticker is from Carly Plans, which I do PR for Carly Plans. I do not have a copy of my new freebie on hand, but I will just like insert a picture of it. But if you use Laurel 15, you get a discount on my freebie. And I did pull in this deco because this was from like a 90s grunge kit from SPC, and I thought some of the deco might work, like the Manic Panic, and yeah, so just some of it's emo in my opinion. And then I did pull in Carly's, I think this was the Halloween font exclusive, so I got some customs. So I got It's Fine, I'm Fine, Dead Tired of This Pain, and then Panic at the Disco, because they were the headliners at the festival. And then I do have these slot machine stickers from both Once More With Love and Sweet Ava's Paper. I did not actually even gamble or play slots, but I just thought they'd be fun to use for random stuff. And then this colorway, this was like an exclusive glitter colorway. I'm trying to remember what it was for. I think it might have been a sale. I can't remember exactly which sale it was, but I grabbed a bunch of stuff because this color scheme kind of feels like the When We Were Young color scheme. It's like pink and black, and there was some green this year, but so I got friendship bracelets, Dr. Avery, Avery on tablet, crying, Duncan, Ghostface, grocery bag, haircut, house, journaling spread and kit, marijuana, spooky movie, Avery listens, heart records, Kindle, audiobook, soccer ball, tour bus, cell phones, football, TV ghosty, desk, laptop and dumbbells. And I will not be using every single one of these, but I just kind of got some of my most used icons in it, and I will be pulling in some stuff this week, and then I'll just slot them back into my collection because it's such a fun colorway. So I will go ahead and put down the base, and I will be back for the day by day. So this is the week that I went to When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas. So basically my foil plan for this week was as tacky as I could make it. So we've got some blue hollow. The little music notes are sparkly lemongrass along with like some of these overlays. I've got this like magenta hollow, I think it is, those SPC underlays, the smileys. So just kind of a mixture of a lot of stuff. And then the artists that I put on here were all artists that I saw at When We Were Young. So yeah, I just thought that was fitting. And then I have some like quotes and stuff. Unfortunately, some of this foil is from a shop that's not open anymore, but the like SPC bundle you can still get, I believe. Which, let me just show like, oh, I forgot I taped this shut so it would stay. But yeah, let me just show the entire spread, including the extras. So we've got this like bedroom, and then I did need 4 boxes this day, but I forgot, so it's a little bit of a weird situation the way I did it. But anyway, there's like the mall, which that kind of looks like the situation at like our hotel. There was a big escalator to the 2nd floor. But yeah, this was my first time to Vegas, my first music festival I've ever been to. So we have lots of things I needed to mark. So excited to plan this. It was such a fun trip. I have so much to say about it, but I like don't even know where to start. So I don't think I'm going to go over what I did Monday through Wednesday because it was not anything related to our trip except for like packing and stuff. I'm just gonna start on Thursday because that's the day we flew to Vegas. So Thursday I got up kind of early because our flight was at noon, and I was at Sarah's house. So I did like get the car packed up, and then I drove us up to the airport. It's a couple hours away, so we got there I think maybe 2 or 2.5 hours before our flight, so we had a decent amount of time. It was I think a 3.5-hour flight to get there, which I don't think I've been on a plane for that long before, but about 2.5 hours in, I was like, okay, I'm over this. I was like really ready to be out of the plane. I don't know exactly if I would call it claustrophobia, but I do get like anxiety and stress being in the cramped plane, and it was a full flight. So yeah, that wasn't fun, but we did get a direct flight so that we didn't have to worry about layovers or anything. And it was just ultimately the cheapest option by the time we got our tickets. So we got to Vegas, and it was a little bit weird because the time zone changed. So I live in Central Time Zone, but Vegas is in Pacific. So, okay, I don't know. There's like dog fur stuck in that, but I can't remove it. But even though our flight was 3.5 hours, we got there and it was like we'd been on the plane for like an hour and a half, basically. So it's kind of weird. But when we got there, I was like, I'm so tired. I need coffee. And then I saw like the reflection of a Starbucks in the window of the airport, and I was like, am I just like seeing things? Corgs, or is there a Starbucks there? And there was one, so it wasn't a delusion. But I was like, okay, I need a coffee immediately. Like, before we got our baggage, before we did anything else, I was like, I need coffee if I'm going to make it through the rest of this day. Because we got there to 1:30. I don't know. It was the afternoon, early afternoon. So I didn't want to like go to bed super early to kind of adjust to the schedule. So we got coffee, we went to our hotel, got all checked in, and then we walked over to a McDonald's that was pretty close by because we wanted to get some food, but we weren't ready for like a full-on dinner. And Monopoly was going on at the time too, so we were like, let's get some Monopoly pieces. So we had McDonald's, and then we walked over literally across the parking lot to a dispensary because I typically take gummies for my pain, but you cannot fly with them because they're not legal federally. So yeah, that was like the first stop. So we went there, and then we were like, okay, we're here early, and merch is going to be held to get on the actual festival days. Plus we didn't want to miss out on like any of the bands we wanted to see for merch. So we did just go ahead and head over to the festival grounds to get merch. But like the way that the entrance works and the way it's oriented from our hotel is the main stages, you walk past them on the way to get to the actual entrance. So it's like the entrances at the back, kind of. So anyway, that's my long-winded way of trying to explain. We were walking past the stages while they were doing sound checks. So one of the main reasons that we went to this festival is because, if you don't know, my favorite band for a long time has been Panic! At the Disco. These tattoos are all Panic related. I also have a tattoo of Brendan Urie on my like upper arm, but I can't really show it on camera. It's not like easy to. So we heard Panic! At the Disco sound checking, and I was like, am I hearing things? Like, am I just, because I was exhausted. But we stood there for a minute, and then there was another girl that passed by, and she was like, that's Panic! And her like the guy that was with her was like, and then she asked us, she's like, did you hear it? And we're like, yeah. And I was like, that was definitely Brendan's voice. Like, I know it. And one of the sound check songs, which we didn't hear this specifically, but one of them was New Perspective, which is a song that Panic! At the Disco did for the movie Jennifer's Body, which I love. Partly because the music in it is really good, and partly because I just love it. I don't know. It's like objectively not a good movie. Like, it's cheesy. Like, it's, by not good, I guess I just mean like it's not like a profound film. It's like a campy horror movie, but I love it. I'm obsessed. I was obsessed when it came out. And so that single, like, I remember downloading the single. Like, I bought it on iTunes, and I was just listening to it. Like, my family computer was in the kitchen, or like it was connected to the that sounds really weird, but like my mom's kitchen has a counter that we just used as like a computer desk. So it was centralized, and it was near the phone line because I'm that old. So anyway, I downloaded it on iTunes, and I was just listening to it on repeat. I don't know, probably like 30 more times when it first came out. I just remember sitting at the computer listening, and I'm not sure why, because I definitely had an iPod, so, and I would burn CDs all the time. But there's that. So we were like, okay. I was like, I am gonna pass out if they sing that, or if he sings that at the show. But I know from just like going to sound checks and my experience with concerts in general, that just because the song's played for sound check does not necessarily mean it's going to be played at the show. However, New Perspective is not a song that he had performed in a very long time. I don't remember the exact date, but not that anyone probably like cares to know. But a very, very long time. And it was kind of one of those things where people were talking on Reddit, like, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's playing it, but why would he play such an old deep cut and like practice it if he wasn't going to play it? So we were clowning for that. We also got to hear part of Blink-182's soundtrack, so that was super exciting. I was just like, we haven't even done the festival. Like, all we've done is get to Vegas and walk almost to the merch. And I was like, this is the best vacation. So off to a wonderful start. And one funny little thing that I did want to mention is when we got in our Uber and we were on our way to our hotel, I was just looking out the window and kind of like taking in the scenery because I had never been, up until this point, I had never been further west than Kansas. And I mean, even then it was Lawrence, Kansas, which is eastern Kansas. So I was just taking in the scenery and looking, and I just, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, there's palm trees. And Sarah was cracking up laughing at me. I was like, okay. I did not expect palm trees in like the middle of the desert city. Like, it made sense, but I just didn't expect it. So that was a funny little moment. But after we got done listening to the soundtrack, because we did definitely stop, we were going to go buy merch, and then we like kind of doubled back when we started hearing the soundtrack and like, okay, let's like wait a minute. And once it had stopped, we decided to just go ahead and get merch, and the line was really not bad at all. We got to stand there and think about what we wanted for a bit because we weren't like really sure. We didn't know what was going to be there ahead of time. And unfortunately, all the merch, well, not all of it, but like most of the merch that was Panic related was so good. So I ended up getting a hoodie and a t-shirt, and then Sarah ended up getting a t-shirt and a Spirit jersey. So next thing was that we saw the sunset, and it was so pretty, like over the mountains, like the red rocks. It was beautiful. And one of the bands that we were seeing, The Cab, which I feel like they're probably not as commonly known outside of like emo circles, but they have a song called Vegas Skies. And so I was like, okay, I get it. Like this is pretty. So we saw that. We went back to our hotel. We were kind of like, what do we do? And we were trying to kind of figure out logistics for what we were going to do when. And I really wanted to go to the Punk Rock Museum. And so I was like, F it, let's just go. So we went, and it was so fun. I definitely recommend it if you're into like punk music, emo music, anything like that. It's definitely a good time. They have a lot of cool stuff. Some of their stuff does like rotate out, so some of it's a little bit different depending on like what their exhibits are, but it was really cool. We actually got there, and we got there early, thankfully, because it let us buy tickets online, but they were actually closing early that day. So like our tickets were for when they were closing. So we looked around. We did get kind of like, not kicked out, that sounds dramatic, but we got asked to like hurry up because there was a wedding going on there. There were people getting married, which was super fun. So it was kind of cool to see them like start to set up for that. And we hung out in their bar and just like had a drink before going back. So we saw a little bit of that. Some of the wedding party was coming in, and like just there was a sign up. I'll probably pop in a picture of it. But yeah, it was just a fun time, and I took so many pictures at the museum. I honestly would have taken more, but like I said, we kind of got like asked to be like, okay, you need to like hurry up because we're closing. So we ended the night by having some wings at a restaurant in our hotel, and then, or I guess I had wings. Sarah had something different. And then I saw football on the screens, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta like do my fantasy football picks for the players that had not already played that night. So I got that taken care of, and these scripts that I made myself are kind of like oversized, but I tried. This is from my shop, Corks and Corks Co., which is on Etsy, and I do have a link down below. So just wanted to mention those real quick. And yeah, so we just kind of watched football, and then we did go to Fat Tuesdays, which if you don't know, they have like fruit flavored alcoholic slushies. So we just stopped by there and got a drink to share because they had one in our hotel. So that was something Sarah said she wanted to do. And then we just kind of called it a night. We were up pretty late though, considering that we were in a different time zone. So Friday we got McDonald's. There was one in our hotel. It was actually right next to Fat Tuesdays. So we went ahead and had McDonald's breakfast, and then we did get a drink at Fat Tuesdays right after that, like right when they opened. When in Vegas, right? So we got that, and we were waiting in line because on the same floor of the hotel, they were having an emo pool party, which was basically a concert. So we were just kind of waiting on that. This day was for like sideshow stuff. So part of why Sarah was like, okay, we need to get there early is because she went to when we were young the year before, and there were a lot of sideshows that bands were doing of like smaller concerts and different venues beforehand because they were already in Vegas for the festival. So she wanted to like be able to do some of that stuff. So this was one of those fun things that I just saw, and it was in our hotel, so it was like perfect. So it was about 70, maybe 75, like at the warmest. So we didn't really swim. Like we got in the pool, but we did not get all the way in the pool because it was kind of cold. But I did actually, I think I dunked myself at one point just because I was feeling like I was getting sunburned. And so I was like, okay, I need to get in the pool. But yeah, it was such a fun time. So first of all, I was sitting there by Sarah, and there was a couple that came up to us, and they were like, hey, will you watch our stuff? And they had like a bucket of White Claws, so you could get like 5 of them, I think, for cheaper than getting them individually. So they had a bucket, and they're like, you guys can each have a White Claw if you want. And I was like, oh, well, like, yeah. I was like, you don't have to. Like, I'll watch your stuff either way. But yeah, so we took them up on that, and then they actually got in the pool. And while we were waiting on the bands to start, because the bands were like running behind on sound check and stuff like that, I got to hear the Paradox do their sound check, which they were the band that I was most excited to see at this pool party. Like, that was why I was like, okay, I have to go, because we didn't have a schedule of like what we were doing at the festival to where we were going to be able to see them, and I really didn't want to miss seeing them, so I love them. So, oh gosh, I put this on the wrong side. So they covered Cute Without the E, cut from the team by Taking Back Sunday as their soundcheck song, which was super fun. I'm so happy we got to hear it. And then the bands were The Higher, which I was like, oh, I don't know them. And then, because they're a smaller band. And then they covered All the Small Things, which that was fun. And then they played a song called Insurance. And I was like, wait a second. I know them. So it was a song that my high school boyfriend put on a mix CD that he gave me. And that took me all the way back. So that was like a fun surprise. And then the Paradox played. They were amazing. The Plain White Tees were after that. And then the last band was Hawthorne Heights, which we did not get to hear because we just weren't able to stay that long. We didn't have time because we had sideshow tickets in the evening to see some different bands, so we did have to leave before them. But we got to see Plain White Tees, which Sarah really wanted to see them, and we have seen them before, but we really like them. So I'm gonna have to cut something from this day because it's not all gonna fit. I don't know what I was thinking when I pulled these boxes. Ooh, and those colors are the same. It's gonna bother me. Okay, whatever. So another thing at the pool party is that couple that asked me to watch their stuff, they came back eventually after they were in the pool for a while. And we were just talking a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, I love your tattoos. And turns out that they're both tattoo artists and they are from Columbus. So this was their honeymoon. They just got married like a month ago, I think they said. And I was like, Columbus? Oh my gosh, I'm a really big Columbus Crew fan. And then we talked about Crew for a little bit. And I was talking about how I was maybe going to come up for a game next year. And so I followed them on Instagram. And they were like, yeah, just send us a DM. And like, we'll hook you up with a tattoo when you come visit. So I was like, okay. Just me finding Crew fans wherever I go. But that was a fun surprise, and they were super nice. I also met some other like girls that we had some drinks and stuff. Everybody was just nice. It was a really fun, good environment, and I'm so happy we decided to go. So after that, we had a sideshow at the Brooklyn Bowl, and first thing we did was buy merch because they had some exclusive merch for the cab. There was a poster and a t-shirt that they'd advertised online that were exclusive to that show. And the shirt says, I saw the cab under Vegas Skies in 25, which I did mention earlier that Vegas Skies is a song by them. So I was like, okay, I have to have that because I love the cab. I went to see them before this. The last time I'd seen them was in 2009. So I was very excited to see them again. When I saw them in 2009, I actually got one of the like former band members to sign my shoe, which I don't still have it, but it was like a high top Converse. And he was just like hanging out in the merch area while Forever the Sickest Kids were playing. And so he signed my shoe for me. So that was a fun time. But yeah, I've been following that band for a while. So that was why I was like, we got to go to this show because I knew they'd be playing some songs they wouldn't play at the festival. They have time to do like longer sets at these side shows. And the openers were Her Leather Jacket and then The Rocket Summer, and that was really fun. I have not seen either of them live. Also, these scripts are so big. I cannot deal. This is so bad. Part of me is like, should I just put the script down without an icon at this point? Might do that. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh my gosh. Really should I? Oh, that's not coming up. Okay, well. All right, so we saw the cab and I was starting to feel really, really bad. And I was like dizzy and dehydrated, and it's because of chronic health stuff, and I haven't officially got diagnosis. I don't want to like be like, oh, I have this, because I don't really know for sure. But basically I have some like heart rate issues that cause me problems when I'm dehydrated. So I was feeling shitty during the Cabs set, but I was like, I have to stick it out. I have to hear them sing Vegas Skies, because they didn't actually end up playing that at the festival. So I'm very glad we did. But unfortunately we did have to leave before Story of the Year, which I was bummed, but we just had to, because I couldn't stay. Never seen them before, so I wanted to. But we had to kind of decide, like, okay, we got to be okay for the festival tomorrow, so we're gonna have to just make the decision to leave. So yeah, we went back to the hotel, got some like Gatorade and stuff, and rehydrated. Then on Saturday, that was festival day. So the festival is 2 days, but we only got tickets to the first day because they're kind of pricey, and the lineup is the same both days. But day 2 wasn't sold out, so we were like, okay, if we get there and we decide we want to do day 2, we'll do it. So we got all checked into the festival. I did need ADA accommodations. I needed to have seating because of kind of the stuff I was mentioning before. So was able to get that. It was super easy. They were really nice. We had like a special entrance, so I didn't have to wait in line as long, and everything was just really smooth as far as that goes. So I was very happy, because sometimes it can be really difficult with accommodations. So yeah, they did a good job. So, oh my gosh, I hate I hate the sizing. This is why I don't make my own scripts, because I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, we got to the festival a little bit earlier than we had planned. So we got to hear the Somerset play, and then we saw Mayday Parade, which they were on the list. I started crying. I lost track of how many times I cried this day, but it was a lot. And yeah, it was so exciting. And the song Jamie All Over, they sing about like driving out to Las Vegas, and so it was just cool. There were a lot of like fun things of like, I'm seeing this in Vegas type of things. And I just cry when I'm feeling intense emotions, like negative or positive. I just do. So I was just like really overwhelmed and excited. So that happened. They were so fun. I love them. We did get to see Mayday Parade whenever they went on tour earlier this year. So they weren't on like, actually, no, they were on the must-see list. I lied. Then we saw Boys Like Girls, which again was on the must-see list. I think we were in ADA for Mayday Parade, but we got down and danced for Boys Like Girls because they're just so fun. Sarah and I are obsessed with them. So we've seen them live, like, I don't know how many times now, and we're going to see them again in Warped, and we're going to see them again next year when they go on tour, but yeah, we love them. So we saw them, then we saw We the Kings. We went over to a different stage for We the Kings, so we didn't think we would get to see them, but we saw most of their set because the cab, the starting line, and the main were at a different stage. They weren't on one of the main stages. So we went over there and kind of like camped out there for all of those sets. And Sarah was the best and went and got me like food and water and stuff when I needed it. She was just like the best companion. I really, really appreciated her help because she like has known me for so long that she could tell I wasn't feeling good, and I didn't think to ask for food. Like, I didn't think that was what I needed, but she just like brought me food. She's like, here, you need to eat. And I was like, oh wow, I don't feel like shit now. So shout out to her for like just anticipating my needs. But yeah, it's like hard to think about sometimes whenever you're like in the heat too. So yeah, We the Kings was fun. Seen them before, always a good time. The Cab was so good. Again, just like I love them so much. We saw The Starting Line, which that was my first time ever seeing them, and I love them so much. My favorite song by them is Island, so it was really exciting to get to hear that live. And they also have some new music that they came out with this year, so we got to hear a couple of those songs. And The Best of Me is like their big song, so we heard that too. It was just such a fun time. I feel like I've said that like 15 times, but whatever. It's true. So that was amazing. We got to see the Maine. They put on such a fun show. We wanted to see them at some point, and for whatever reason, oh my God, that's not the right, jeez. That's not the right sticker. I'm like having to improvise because none of this stuff fits how I wanted it to. So yeah, it was really cool to get to see them at the festival. And then we didn't think we were going to make it back because All Time Low was on a different stage, but we did make it back in time to see them. Unfortunately, at that point, the ADA section was so full that I wasn't able to get back in. So we ended up having to like sit on the pavement for a while, which I guess it's a festival rite of passage, but that was definitely not what I wanted to do. So we saw them, and then Crew did win this day, so I did want to go ahead and mark that, even though I obviously did not watch the game this day, but I was wearing my Crew hat. Then we did see The Used. They, all the rest of these people were on the main two stages. So the way it worked was there were, I believe, 4 stages. One of them we didn't go to at all, but 2 of them were kind of just like off by themselves, and then 2 of them were right by each other. So like they would play a show at this stage, and then the next artist would be at this stage, and then they would just flip-flop. So we saw a lot of artists because we were camping out in that area to see Panic at the Disco. So we saw The Used, The Offspring, which I like wanted to see them, but they weren't on my must-see list. And because I didn't really understand the layout of the stages, I didn't realize that we would get to see some artists that we did. So we saw them. We saw Avril Lavigne, which, like, honestly, she was the, like, pre-emo introduction to emo, punk, all of that stuff for me. So she is so good. That was amazing to see her. I definitely cried. I wasn't feeling good at the time. I was feeling really tired because we stood a lot this day, and we had walked a lot on Thursday and Friday. So, like, I didn't get to get up and dance for as much of her set as I wanted to, but she did have, I'm blanking on his name, the lead singer of Simple Plan came out and sang with her because they do have a song that they collab on together. So that was really cool to see. I love the fact that they can do stuff like that at the festivals because there's, you know, artists from all these different bands. And then we saw Weezer and Blink-182, which I was very happy to finally get to see them. I had never seen them live. We did have tickets, like nosebleed tickets, but still, we had tickets to see them last year, and they canceled their show because they got sick, and they didn't like immediately reschedule it. They just like canceled unrefunded, and we didn't end up going to the rescheduled show because I was like mad about it, and I don't know if it even worked out schedule wise. So anyway, long story short, it was very exciting to be able to get to see them. And then was the main event, which was Panic at the Disco. So really should have talked less about the non-music stuff, because I knew I was going to yap forever on this, but I went to Panic's last tour, and that was before, we didn't know at the time Panic was going to be like ending, but I kind of suspected it for various reasons that I'm not going to get into because I don't have time. But I did go to the Viva Las Vengeance tour twice. but I never thought I was going to see Panic again. So this was like an indescribably exciting experience for me for several reasons. One, because of that. Two, because the entire album of A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which is the first Panic at the Disco album, was played front to back. And I had not heard the entire album played because when I first saw Panic, it was in 2008 on Honda Civic Tour, which is wild because that was at a pretty small venue. And then after that, like a few months later, I saw them at the Rock Band Live Tour, which, yeah, that was funny. But that was in like what is now the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, which is where the Blues play. So quite a venue size difference. But, oh gosh, here we are again with the stickers not fitting. Oh boy. Somebody tell me to never make my own scripts again because I clearly can't do it. Okay, so like when I tell you I know that album front to back, every single word, I really mean it. I used to sit in my room and listen to it on my iPod mini, and like then when I got a regular iPod, I would add the lyrics in. You had to like add them into music data, and I would like read the lyrics while I was listening and singing. It's just like so nostalgic. I love it so much. And so it was amazing to get to hear it because basically since 2009 when I saw Panic, I did not hear any songs from that album except for Irate Sins Not Tragedies, which I feel like if you know Panic at the Disco, or even if you don't really, you probably know that song because it was just the song. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but my favorite songs on that album I had not heard in years live. So that was amazing. Sarah kept being like, "Are you okay? Can you breathe?" And I was just like, "No." But it was so fun. All my like pain went away when the set started. Like I was aching and having trouble standing up until then, but then as set started and I was just like young again all of a sudden. So that was crazy fun. I wrote in my notes for this video to like go through song by song. No one wants to hear that. Also, the set was pretty long. Like it ended at it was like 2 hours long. So I guess I'll just like note some exciting things. So he sung Miss Jackson, which the town that like my address is in is called Jackson. So that was really exciting for me. Plus, it's just a good song. And then King of the Clouds, which I did mention my tattoo of Brendan on my shoulder. The photo reference of it is from the song King of the Clouds when he played it on the Pray for the Wicked tour, which is the album it's on. So that was like just a very fun, exciting surprise. I did not expect to hear that because it's not like one of the top played songs or whatever. Okay, so King of the Clouds, amazing, 10 out of 10. He also played Vegas Lights, which I felt like was a must because we're in Vegas, obviously gotta sing about Vegas. And just circling back to A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, that album was toured before I was a fan, so I did not see the Nothing Rhymes with Circus tour, but I have like a deluxe box set of like a CD, DVD stuff from that tour, and it's got a recording live in Denver of that tour. So that's something that like I've watched over the years. It's really cool. The Panic at the Disco logo like on the stage is in the font Curls MT, which if you know what that is, then you're probably around my age. But I was obsessed with that font at the time, just in general. And so it's fun to see it. Although I'm pretty sure it's the font. It's pretty close to it if it's not. They had that same sign or like a recreation of it. They had a piano that was either the same piano from the tour or like a recreation of it. The set design was absolutely amazing. Like the attention to detail was spectacular. I could not see all of it until I kind of looked at stuff afterwards because I'm short and I wasn't at the front of the show, but it was amazing. Like I did not expect that level of detail. As someone who's been a fan for so long, it was just perfect. I could not have asked for a better job from like a set standpoint. The only thing I would have liked would have been if Brendan would have worn eyeliner. But that's my like one critique, and that's really not a big deal. So if you don't know about Panic at the Disco's like history, the band split in two after the album Pretty Odd, and then after Vices and Virtues, Brendan was the only original band member left because Spencer Smith left like just the music industry in general. So because this was a 20th anniversary show, people were speculating online, oh, they're gonna, it's gonna be the whole band, or there's gonna be another person from the original band there. And I was fully like, that's not happening, no way. There's just too much from like the band history to prevent that, which I won't get into all of it. But surprise of all surprises, at the end of the set, Brendan, he was like talking about how Irate Since Not Tragedies was the song that started it all, and so he was going to play it again, and he was going to bring out one of his friends, which was Spencer Smith, on the drums, and I stopped breathing. Like, I'm not actually even kidding. So that was amazing. That was so cool, so unexpected. No part of me expected him to be there, and it was really cool to get to see him on stage again. Plus, it was just really fun to see Brendan perform again because I don't think he's going to like start making music and performing on a regular basis, at least at this point in time, because he has a kid and it was getting to be like hard on his voice. He was sick for a good chunk of his last tour, but you could just tell while he was performing that he was having the best time. And I had forgotten how much fun it is to watch him just because he thrives on performing. So 10 out of 10. Really more than a 10 out of 10, like 20 out of 10. So after that, we were exhausted, went back to the hotel. The next morning, we started a little bit slower. We were kind of like figuring out what we wanted to do that day. So we did watch the Chiefs and Raiders game because we're in Vegas, so it was airing. And then Sarah was like, what do you want to do today? And we came to the conclusion that we were still in Vegas. We were going to spend money somewhere, and we decided to buy day 2 festival tickets. So we went back, and we used ADA a lot more this day because I needed to sit more after all the activity of Saturday and wanted to be able to dance for Panic at the Disco. So okay, so I don't know what I did. I left this out. I'm going to have to figure it out off camera, but I left that out, which is kind of important, on Sunday. But yeah, so we got to see a couple bands we didn't get to see the first day. We saw Yellow Card, which was really fun. I did want to see them. We got to see Simple Plan, which I was very excited about. I have seen them, or had seen them prior, but Sarah had never seen them, and they just put on such a good show. They're so fun. So that was super exciting. And then oh no, this is ripping.
And then we saw Knocked Loose, which is not super my vibe, but I mean, they did a good job. They're just not my typical type of music. They're a little screamier than what I listen to. But we saw them, and then we saw All Time Low, which I marked with a White Claw because Alex was like, between songs, he was singing about like, somebody get me a new White Claw. My White Claw's hot. And then he was like singing about hot White Claw. So it cracked me up, and I had to mark it that way. And then The Used, we got to see The Used again, and The Offspring, Weezer, Blink, Avril, which Avril was before The Offspring. I'm not really sure what happened with the way I like organized this, but I'm just gonna go with it. The Used had a song that they like put down a flag that it was the Palestinian flag, and then it said Free Palestine on it. And the first day it like fell down at a specific time, and like you could read it. The second day it like fell, so you couldn't read what it was. And I was like, I don't know if that was someone that sabotaged it or if it was just an honest mistake, but it was interesting. So it just kind of made me wonder. But then Avril brought out her ex-husband, Derek, who is the lead singer of Sum 41, which if you don't know, Sum 41 went on their final tour. I believe it was last year. I went to it with Sarah. But these last couple of years have felt like a blur, and I don't know what was this year and what was last year. I'm pretty sure it was last year though. So she brought him out and they sung In Too Deep, which is a Sum 41 song. That was such a fun time. I'm so happy we were there day 2 to get to hear that. I also felt like I really appreciated Avril's set more because I was feeling a bit better since we did sit and I was able to rest more. And then Blink 182, again, like the same situation. I was able to appreciate it more just because I was feeling better, and they made me cry. So, yeah, they're so funny and silly, and I love their music so much, and they have so many good songs. So that was really a good time. And then Panic at the Disco, same set list, but instead of King of the Clouds this night, they sang New Perspective. And as soon as I heard the first like notes of the music, I looked at Sarah. I was like, are you kidding me? I was so excited. So that was amazing. Like that alone made it worth going to day 2. But day 2 was still amazing just in general. So such a good time. I'm like trying not to cry thinking about it, but well worth it. And aside from just going on and on about the same stuff, I think that's pretty much it for this week. So if you did make it through this hot mess of a spread and me yapping about music for over an hour, thank you. I appreciate you watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.